Winter weather is in full swing here in Athens, Ohio. 8 degrees today and snow everywhere. Mitchell Lyons, nonetheless, channeling his inner golfer.
Yeah, I looked like Ricky and I played like Ricky today, Ethan. I was 3 under through 9.
I don't know about that. That sounds like some fake news to me. Coming up next on Ohio Sports Zone, we got both men's and women's basketball, hockey, and a little bit of trivia on Ohio Sports Zone.
Welcome back to Ohio Sports Zone, everybody. Ethan Graham, Mitchell Lyons here. Ethan, the women's team did not play on Wednesday, a rare off day in conference play. So you go all the way back to Saturday, where they took on Toledo, right here in the Convocation Center, and Ohio was able to pick up a 61-55 win, even with Jasmine Weatherspoon only playing 14 minutes. Pick up a win in conference play, gotta like that.
Yeah, Jasmine Weatherspoon, hopefully she gets back in the fold soon. Nonetheless, the Cats able to pull it out. An 18-2 run to close the first half gave them the largest lead of the game. That was 11 points. Defensively, the Cats are improving too. They forced 22 turnovers this game. Bob Bolden has not been happy with his team's defense at some points this season, so it's good to see them cleaning that up. Hannah Basinger, 4th straight game in double-digit points, and Bob Bolden, like I said, was much more appreciative of his defense. The Lady Cats not shooting great, 34%. Overall field goal percentage, 26% from 3, so defense certainly bailing them out. And just 15% in the first quarter. I mean, it's hard to shoot that poorly, honestly. Jasmine Weatherspoon, like we said, only 14 minutes. What will be her role going forward? Not a whole lot of information out there right now. We'll just, see as the games are played. Outscored Toledo's bench 17-2. This seems like a reoccurring theme. Ohio just killing the other team's bench. Really have some of the most depth in the MAC, I would say. Iman Jenkins, 12 points, 3 assists, led Ohio. Kiera Lampkins, 10-5, 17 straight games for her in double figures. So absolutely the most consistent player in Ohio when it comes to scoring. And they'll go to Central Michigan next weekend.
Yeah, and you can make the argument that Jasmine Weatherspoon is Ohio's best player, and when she only played 14 minutes, you talked about the depth, and you have to like that, because 6 Bobcats played over 20 minutes in the Toledo game, so you have to like the depth that Ohio had, and when you force 22 turnovers and only commit 16 in your own, you're going to like your chances to pick up a win against a pretty good Toledo team. You talk about the defense, it was very good, and Ohio was 2 of 15 to start off the game, or 2 of 13, to start off the game in the first quarter. But they weren't trailing by that much because Toledo only made 3 field goals of their own. So you have to like the defense and the way that they're playing, getting ready to make their run here into conference and MAC tournament season.
Yeah, certainly they haven't been playing from behind a whole lot. They've been playing mostly, from the lead. And it really is a competitive MAC out there. They go to Central Michigan this weekend. They do not go to Central Michigan this weekend. What am I talking about? They stay home at the Combo. They'll be in Athens. Go out and see them if you can. They owe Central Michigan one, a 64-69 loss earlier this season. It was a heartbreaker. What are some things you're going to be looking for in that game, Mitch?
Well, you talk about the Central game, and it's a very tough game. Central Michigan 9-2 in conference play. They also have Ball State coming up. It seems like both men and women take on Ball State this weekend. So and that's a very important game. Ball State's 10-2, Ohio 8-3 in conference play.
Huge game, absolutely huge.
Absolutely, and you're not gonna call must win because it's different divisions and all that. But even from a tiebreaker standpoint, if you need to get into that, it's a big game to win for Ohio.
It's the top 4 teams, regardless of division, get in.
Absolutely. So you really want to pick up this win against Ball State. This is a pretty confident team. They've won the MAC 2 years in a row, so it's not like they need a confidence win, but you like having the tiebreaker over them and pick up another win in conference play because Kent State's behind, and they did drop to Kent State earlier. So if tiebreakers do come into play, it'd be a nice one to pick up over a 10-2 in conference Ball State team.
Something we talked about last week is this team's rebounding numbers. They're actually, sometimes better without Jasmine Weatherspoon, which is exactly what you wouldn't think. I asked Bobby this last week. Do you think that, getting Jasmine Weatherspoon back will disrupt this team's chemistry? The positive rebounding they've found at this point in the season, Mitchell?
I don't. I think Jasmine's such a great player and such a huge part of what they do on offense that it won't affect them. It may take a game to get into rhythm, but it won't affect, them winning. If you put your best player on the floor, you're going to be better. Kind of like Ohio and men's,
sure,
which we'll get to in the next block. If you put your best player on the floor, you're going to be better. It might just take a game.
We talked about that 15% shooting in the first quarter. Really just a poor shooting performance overall, 34% from the field. Is that something you're worried about moving forward if you're Bob Bolden and Ohio fans? Should they be worried about this?
Maybe a little bit, but because when you're a Bob Bolden team and you love the three ball, that when you get kind of into one-game scenarios, if you're not hitting threes, it's definitely a concern. But this team has a lot of depth and a lot of shooters that even if the three isn't going, they have slashers that can get into the paint and cause problems for defenses. Obviously, last year, Buffalo ran that 2-3 zone, so it was a problem. This year, they really seem to carve up zones and do a much better job against that. So you have to like their chances. They can score in a lot of different ways. Even if they're not the best scoring team in the MAC, they're still a very good scoring team.
Real quick before we go to break here, 30 seconds. Ohio pulling it out this weekend against the Chips?
I do. I think they go on the road against and pick up a win.
Good stuff. Coming up next, men's basketball, Ohio Sports Zone.
So, I'm kind of new here, but I've noticed a trend. My human does this funny thing where she goes around and gets all my toys, and then she hides them in that basket by the door. But it's always the same basket, and it's always in the same place. And then she acts so surprised when I find them, but, she's putting them in the same basket again. It's like, hello, that's where you put it last time. You were the worst at hide and go seek.
Clean kitchen surfaces, utensils, and hands with soapy water. 1 in 6 Americans will get sick from food poisoning this year. Keep your family safer. Check your steps at foodsafety.gov.
Welcome back on Ohio Sports Zone. Ethan Graham with Mitch Lyons. Bobby Levine is out this week wrestling millennials. Mitchell, a huge win over Akron, 85-70. No one really saw this one coming. I know I didn't. How do you even begin to break this huge game down for the Bobcats?
Well, first off, you look 85-70. You look at the score and you think, whoa, Ohio killed them. That's not the case. This game was much closer than the final score indicates. In fact, it was a tie game with 4 minutes to go. Akron had a meltdown late. They were charged with about 3 technicals within the last 15 seconds. So, Jerron Simmons was able to pile on, rebound or free throws and have a big day, and they were able to pull away late. But I mentioned Jerron Simmons, and that's exactly what happened. Jerron Simmons went out and played like an animal. He had 38 points, 10 rebounds, and 5 assists. Jerron was absolutely terrific all game long. He showed why he was a preseason favorite and a contender, along with Tony Campbell, to win MAC Player of the Year. But when you look at Ohio, you also have to look at their defense. Their defense was terrific against Akron. And Akron really, they have 2 main players, and that's Isaiah Big Dog Johnson and K1 Cheatham. And after the game, Jerron Simmons said that Isaiah Johnson is kind of like their point guard because they play through him. They were able to get him into foul trouble. He actually got a technical right at the half. That was his 3rd foul. And then he picked up his 4th 5 minutes into the second half. So he had to sit for 10 minutes in the second half, and that really forced him to play a different way. And Isaiah Johnson was held to 18 points, and Ohio did a terrific job on K1 Cheatham. Saul Phillips before the game called Cheatham his nemesis, and they were terrific. They held him to 9 points. He was 3 of 18 from the field and 1 of 10 from 3. Gavin Block was fronting him. They also front Isaiah Johnson, but we have to talk about Gavin Block, Ethan, because he was terrific on Cheatham all game long.
Yeah, it was certainly a lot of things going right for the Bobcats. Could not keep that momentum rolling, though, later this week in the combo. It lost to Central Michigan. Marcus Keene, 41 points, 9 threes. That was the most in the combo since 2014. Craig Bradshaw dropped 45 in 2014. Take us through that game.
Yeah, and a minute ago I just called Jerron Simmons a freak,
Yeah.
or I called Jerron Simmons an animal. I think I'm going to have to call Marcus Keene a freak show.
Absolutely
this guy
ridiculous.
is absolutely terrific, and he's now had 5 games of 40 points or more this season. He actually has a 50-point game as well, and this dude was 9 of 18 from three-point land alone. That's not the field. That's from 3. He had 15 field goals on his way to, like we said, 41 points. Ohio just had no answer for him, and it's not like they weren't playing any defense on him. They had a hand in his face pretty much all game long, and this guy seemingly didn't miss. I mean, Ethan, he pulled up from the white in the O in Ohio and hit it.
Splashed.
It was ridiculous how well he played, and when Ohio didn't have a hand in his face the few times, it was because it was a step back from 5 feet beyond NBA range, and they just couldn't. I mean, you can't guard that.
No.
And Marcus Keene was terrific, but Braylon Rayson, his running mate, was also very good. He now has 10 straight games of scoring 20 points or more. So you went into this game, and it was like a battle of the backcourts. You look and you want to rank MAC backcourts, you think that Ohio, they're probably number 1 or number 2. Central Michigan's got number 1. Ohio's backcourt combined for 51 points. Central's 62. 10 points, that's your difference.
And obviously Marcus Keene's offensive numbers, 41 points stand out here, but it wasn't just the scoring. I mean, he was whipping the ball across the court all night. Certainly a huge game on both ends of the court. But let's go back to Ohio. This has been a streaky team. I think it's all or nothing at times. Can Jerron Simmons, we saw an absolutely outstanding performance from him against Akron, another good game against Central Michigan. Can he, help the Bobcats get right at the right time? Can the Bobcats continue to shoot those threes, really play defense in stretches? And, can they end up in the big dance, win the MAC tournament, go on a run here, Mitch?
I do. You mentioned Jerron Simmons, and we talked about his 38, 10, and 5. Well, you could argue he was even better against Central Michigan, and that's pretty hard, although I think his Akron game was better. Yeah. But he flirted with a triple-double against Central Michigan, 30, 9, and 9. That's almost triple-double territory. So when you have a hot point guard, that is the difference. You have Ohio. I mean, they hit 16 threes against Central Michigan. I know Central Michigan's not a very good defensive team, but you hit 16 threes on them. That's a very good sign. You have three-point shooters like Kaminsky and Jordan Dardis that can hit. And Jerron Simmons has been absolutely terrific, even hitting threes as well. He's hit 8 of his last 10 threes, and that was a point of struggle for him earlier in this year. At one point, he was below 30%. So now he's hitting his threes. And now, Ethan, the big thing for Ohio is free throws. Yeah. This has been a major struggle for this team.
Cannot say it
all
enough.
Year long. Now they're starting to hit them. The last 2 games, they're 49 for 63 from the foul line. No math major, so I had to use a calculator. But it was 40. That's 78%. That's about where they were last year, and that was number 1 in the MAC. So now you're hitting your free throws. You have a superstar point guard, bigs that are pretty good, and you can hit threes. That's a recipe to win in the tournament.
Yeah, you talk about bigs that are pretty good, but something I've talked about on this show every week is, not that they seemingly don't have the height. There's a few teams like Northern Illinois, Akron. They have some big dudes down low. They have guys close to 7 feet. Is that going to really bog down Ohio? Those bigger teams late. As we continue MAC play here.
Well, you look at Ohio's bigs, and they were outplayed at Central Michigan.
Sure.
They were outscored 15-4. It's just tough to win when you have those points.
Absolutely.
But I do think they're good enough because you mentioned the 2 teams that have really good bigs in Northern Illinois and Akron. Ohio just beat them both.
True.
So as long as the key is that they stay out of foul trouble, because there's only 2 of them, and Jason Carter and Doug Taylor. So there's only 2 of them. They've got to stay out of foul trouble, which is a major key, because if you lose one of them, then the other one has to play pretty much the rest of the game. And you can't lose both of them because there's nothing else behind them. And even Kenny Kaminsky and Gavin Block can go down and play the 4. So you have some versatility, but those 2 are so key because they cannot foul out.
Yep, and we move forward right before we go to break here at Ball State tomorrow night, 6:30 p.m., CBS Sports Network, nationally televised game. Will the Cats pull it out?
Actually, I looked at the line, and it's even. So they have a pretty good – so it's thinking of pick 'em. It's on the road. Ohio has won 3 straight road games. Make it 4. I think that they win. Now we have to go to break. Blake's yelling at us to get to break because we're late. Coming up, more hockey on Ohio Sports Zone.
So, I'm kind of new here, but I've noticed a trend. My human does this funny thing where she goes around and gets all my toys, and then she hides them in that basket by the door. But it's always the same basket. and it's always in the same place. And then she acts so surprised when I find them, but, she's putting them in the same basket again. It's like, hello, that's where you put it last time. You were the worst at hide and go seek.
Clean kitchen surfaces, utensils, and hands with soapy water. 1 in 6 Americans will get sick from food poisoning this year. Keep your family safer. Check your steps at foodsafety.gov.
We are back on Ohio Sports Zone. Ohio Bobcats hockey is what we're going to be talking about. Ethan Graham here with Kaitlyn McGarvey and proud Rabbit father Shane Dazen, the voice of Ohio Bobcats hockey on at ABW Hockey. Kaitlyn, fire away.
All right, so this weekend, the OU game with Pitt. We totally annihilated them on Friday with a game ending in 9-0, and on Saturday, 8-4. Even without players Breslin, Hartman, Lafreniere, and Rudin, as well as head coach Sean Hogan, who was over in the Winter World University Games over in Kazakhstan. And they will be back this weekend to play against Illinois. So, guys, can you recap the weekend for us? Both these games were pretty chippy, especially that Saturday one, right?
Yeah, it was siblings weekend here at Ohio, but there was certainly no love lost for these two ACHA foes. Pitt and Ohio getting at it early on in the action Friday night. Ohio goes up 1-0 thanks to Tom Picorni. He had 3 more goals in that period, take a 4-0 lead at the end of 1 and really set the tone for how that game was played on Friday night. And then at the end of 2, it was 7-0 Ohio. 3 goals again in the second period thanks to Brock Roomba, Lubin, and Jake Houston. So Ohio was looking really good throughout the entire night, ended up going on to a 9-0 victory, posted 57 shots to Pitt's 16. So you see Ohio continue that trend of outshooting teams by gross margins here, almost 50 or
We've seen that
40 plus
We've
shots.
seen that a ton.
Advantage against Pitt on Friday night alone. So it was pretty incredible to see Ohio really dictate the flow on Friday night, and you're looking for Pitt to respond in a big way on Saturday, and they didn't really do that, Ethan.
No, they sure didn't. A little bit of chippiness at the end of the game there. Certainly good to see things didn't get out of hand, but sometimes in the game of hockey it has to happen. But overall, 2 good wins for the Bobcats. A little bit of things going wrong defensively, allowing 4 goals. Really, goaltending's been a strong part of for Ohio all season. But, defensively, struggle in that game from the defensive core. Not something I expect to continue, this defensive core, with Lafreniere, Rudin, Fiala, Grant Hazel, Alex Vasquez. All those guys have really played outstanding. So I don't really expect, the defensive issues, 4 goals given up, to be a continuing issue. But certainly head coach Sean Hogan was not pleased with that over the weekend. But we got Illinois coming up now. Should be an interesting weekend.
Yeah, Ohio walking into Illinois at 23-4-1, number 2 in the nation, but they're playing a really good team in Illinois that's really hitting their stride as we're heading toward the tournament. Illinois ranked as high as 15 heading into last week's matchup against Indiana, got 2 big wins against Indiana, and are now walking into their matchup against Ohio this weekend at 18-7-2. So they're really trending upward. And after that 7-2 loss back in November against Ohio, and they rebounded with that 1-0 victory thanks to Joe Olin's shutout there, they played to a 9-2 record. So they're really learning a lot of things from that loss against Ohio, that smacking back in November, and translated it into some really good hockey for Illinois. So definitely nobody you want to look over going into this weekend, and it's going to be a tough 2 games for Ohio trying to grab that number 1 spot in the ACHA moving into the tournament.
Yeah, I really look for Ohio to come out really angry, really have a fast start. You could tell they're very, very frustrated, that 1-0 loss. Joe Olin absolutely stood on his head that night. I don't know about you, but that was absolutely one of the best goaltending performances I have seen in the Bird Arena. So Ohio is going to start this game quick. They're probably going to get a goal early. Will they, get out to their 5, 6, 7, 8, goalie, signature, really just wearing teams out, blowing them out? I don't think so. Like you said, Illinois has become a much better hockey team later in the season. They roll with 3 goalies, something Ohio does also, so be looking out for that this weekend.
Yeah. You want to go for it?
All right. right. Well, we have some exciting things to tell you, Bobcats. The hockey team moved up to number 2 from the number 3 spot in the ACHA rankings. So can the Bobcats really keep up that momentum?
Shane, you want to take this one?
I mean, yeah, there's definitely no reason to believe that they can't keep this up and maybe potentially move forward in that ranking as we move into the playoffs here. They've got 4 games left against an Illinois team that is number 15 in the rankings and looking pretty good, and then another Iowa State team that has also been in the rankings in the past and has become kind of a mainstay in those rankings in the last few years here. So a couple quality wins against those 2 types of teams could be enough to put Ohio into that top position if Minot State were to falter, or Adrian College were to slip up a little bit further here in the last couple of weeks too, because at this point it's kind of a 3-horse race there between those 3 for that top position. But I think Ohio is in very good standing moving into this matchup. They're getting a couple guys back from the World University Games that they didn't have this past weekend, and they still scored 17 goals against Pitt. So you got to like their depth. You got to like what's going on with the goaltenders and what's going on with the offensive flow as they're working their players in and out of the lineup and putting them in different situations. We see Cody Black moving up into a top 6 role this past weekend and scoring 4 goals. So that's very encouraging for Coach Hogan and his guys moving forward, just realizing, the amount of playmaking ability that the team has. So I think that they definitely have some solid positioning going forward and potentially grabbing that top spot.
Yeah, I'm really going to look out for that Iowa State game. Iowa State, a team that was near the top of the ACHA rankings earlier this year. They've fallen a little bit. That's going to be a really big test for Ohio. A storyline I will look for in that game is what's their goaltending situation? Who are they going to start? As we get closer to nationals here, I would like to see them roll with 1 goalie. Traditionally, that's what we see in the NHL, most levels of playoff hockey. 3-goalie system is great. I like, all 3 guys are more than competent. They've all been great at times this year, but I would really like to see Coach Hogan pick 1 goalie.
Yeah, and if they were to pick a goalie, I think that at this point it's got to be Jimmy Thomas. You look at his track record throughout the season, it's been impeccable for Ohio, 13-2 on the year, and he's really been kind of the go-to guy for Coach Hogan. And Aaron Alcombe is definitely not a bad second option for Coach Hogan, and nor is Helshin there at number 3, although I don't think Brian Helshin's really in the conversation for that starting spot. I think it really goes between Thomas and Alcombe at this point, but I think the nod goes to Jimmy Thomas. You got to ride the hot hand going in, and he's got the bulk of the play in the regular season. I think that his resume has been very solid so far, and he deserves a shot at continuing to take this team into the playoffs.
I actually kind of disagree with you. I got a lukewarm take for you here. I just took out of the oven. I think Aaron Alcombe is who I would go with down the stretch. Jimmy Thomas, you neglect to mention, only a freshman. This guy does great things in the net, shown he can do them at times in the season, but I go with Aaron Alcombe. He has been there for the Cats, been there for a number of years. He's the guy I like moving forward.
Yeah, he's a big body. I don't think you can argue with the fact that Aaron Alcombe is a proven goaltender in the past. He's led Ohio to a lot of solid seasons behind him in net, and I think that Aaron Alcombe going forward too would also be a plus for the Bobcats. It's really a toss-up for Coach Hogan. I don't think he can go wrong either way, to be honest with you.
Well, we shall see as time goes on. Coming up next, trivia on Ohio Sports Zone.
So, I'm kind of new here, but I've noticed a trend. My human does this funny thing where she goes around and gets all my toys, and then she hides them in that basket by the door. But it's always the same basket, and it's always in the same place. And then she acts so surprised when I find them, but, she's putting them in the same basket. Again. It's like, hello, that's where you put it last time. You were the worst at hide and go seek.
Clean kitchen surfaces, utensils, and hands with soapy water. 1 in 6 Americans will get sick from food poisoning this year. Keep your family safer. Check your steps at foodsafety.gov.
Welcome back on Ohio Sports Zone. Shane Dazen to my left, Mitchell Lyons to my right. We're going to play a new game, some trivia. I have 6 questions for you boys, 4 answers, all multiple choice. There's 1 correct answer. The Person with the most correct answers wins. Sounds simple enough, yeah?
Easy enough.
All right, question number 1. Who was the last Ohio men's basketball player to be drafted into the NBA? Was it A, Gary Trent, B, DJ Cooper, C, Maurice Nador, or D, Brandon Hunter? Mitchell Lyons.
Great, let's ask a men's basketball reporter a basketball question. If he gets it wrong, let's laugh at him. So, you look at a couple of the options. DJ Cooper, it was not drafted. Maurice Nador actually plays for the Knicks, not drafted as well. So you have to go with A or D. I don't think the Shaq of the Mac was the most recent one, so give me D.
Shane Dazen.
All right, well, this guy sounds like he knows what he's talking about. I was going to go with C, Zandor, but I guess I'm wrong. I'm still going to go with C just because that was my first guess, and, maybe I'll prove him wrong, but we'll see what happens here. Maybe I'll look like a fool. I don't know.
Yeah, you can't really go wrong with C, but in this case you can, because the answer is D. Point for Mitchell Lyons. Number 2, the first athletic event in Ohio University was an 1894 and 8-0 loss in football to what school? A, Miami of Ohio, B, Marietta, C, Indiana, or D, Toledo? Shane Dazen, take this one.
I'm going to go with Marietta here. I don't know why. I just feel like it's a small town vibe here. I feel like the beginning of the 1900s, late 1800s there, Marietta, Ohio feels like it's like a good hearty rivalry.
Which line?
So I definitely don't think it's C or D. And I'm actually with you. I think it's B. Something's telling me it's Marietta, which means it's probably Miami. But I'm going to go with B and Marietta.
I don't know, boys, but B is correct. That is 2 for Mitchell Lyons.
One
for Shane Dazen. Yeah, you guys doing better than I thought you would, if I'm being completely honest. I hope you're not looking at the answers. We do have video evidence. We will see if you're looking at the answers. So please don't look at the answers.
I am not the Bill Belichick of Ohio sports.
Ooh, shots fired. Number 3, Ohio hockey finished as the number 1 ranked team in the CHL standings 4 times. When was the most recent? A, 2004, B, 2000, C, 1975, D, 1989. Mitch Lyons, your thoughts?
Sure we can't start with
No, we can't. It's your turn, bud.
The hockey?
It's your turn, man.
Can you reread the years again?
Yeah, how about you listen this time? Ohio hockey has finished the number 1 ranked team in the final CHL standings 4 times. When was the most recent? 2004, 2000, 75, or 89? Mitch Lyons, you say what?
So I'm picturing Bird Arena. There's a lot of 2000s banners. So let's go with the more recent one, 2004.
Yeah, I was going to say 2004 too. Just going on kind of what he was saying back there too. A lot of championships in the past vintage for Ohio. And, CHL, I'm not sure how long that league has been around, but I'm not sure if that's also stretching back into the 70s. So if you're talking about that conference in particular, I think it's something more recent, so we'll go with 2004 too.
You are both correct. That is 3 points for Mitchell Lyons, 2 points for Shane Dazen, Shane right behind.
We got a little bit of a game
Yeah. We got a contest going on. Okay, where does the actual living Rufus the Bobcat live? Is it A, the Cincinnati Zoo? Is it B, the Columbus Zoo? Is it C, Peden Stadium? Or D, the Toledo Zoo? Gentlemen, your thoughts. We'll start with Shane.
The actual living Rufus
There
Bobcat?
is a living Rufus the Bobcat. That is our mascot.
Is he a real Wait, so you're not talking about the plushy, like...
No, this is literally a living
Bob.
Bobcat. Whiskers for the whole 9 yards. This is a living feline.
All right, I'm going to go with Toledo.
I feel like I should know this, but I don't. I'm going to go with Cincinnati.
You are both wrong. How can you not know where the mascot is? It is Columbus. It is Columbus. 3-2. Frustration.
It just seemed like it was too obvious.
Oh, maybe you should have said it then. Ohio won its first bowl game in 2011 against Utah State. Which bowl did they win? Was it A, the Camellia Bowl, B, the Dollar General Bowl, C, the famous Idaho Potato Bowl, or D, the FarmersOnly.com Bowl? I think it's your turn to start. What do you think?
You know, Shane, it's amazing. Ethan's talking all this smack. He's got the answers right in front of him. He should know them. But I'm going to go with the famous Idaho Potato Bowl.
I'm going to go with the Camellia Bowl.
Looks like Mitchell Lyons is correct, and you're not. 4-2, Mitchell Lyons. We'll just play this one for funsies, since Mitch already beat you here. Who has the most career touchdowns in MAC football history? This is career passing touchdowns. Quarterbacks. Chad Pennington, Dan Lefevre, Logan Woodside, or Tyler Tettleton. Gentlemen, we'll start with Shane.
I feel like the obvious answer should be like Tyler Tettleton because he went here. But I'm going to go with Chad Pennington just because I feel like Chad Pennington was like a pretty solid NFL quarterback. Let's just Go with him.
Yeah, not a bad guess.
Actually, I remember hearing this earlier this year. I'm going to go with A, Chad Pennington.
You are both correct. 4 points for Mitchell Lyons, 3 points for Shane Dazen. Oh, 5? Was it 5?
Now he's
Cheating me.
I'm
Now he's
shorting
getting
you.
defensive about
Look,
his
I'm
points,
sorry.
huh? He
I'm
was
just
already
the
gonna beat
messenger.
me.
Everyone, calm down. Let's remain
That one was
civil.
for funsies. That doesn't count.
Oh, it was for funsies. Yeah, why are you even mad about it? Hey, listen, everybody, we're about out of time here on Ohio Sports Zone. Mitch Lyons, Shane Dazen. What a great show this week. We'll see you next week with Bobby Levine. See ya.